Hi, now let's talk about a new service in GCP, and this is called as data loss prevention. So data loss prevention is basically a fully managed service that is designed to discover, classify, and protect your most sensitive data. So you can categorize data loss prevention into 4 separate modules. There is the data profiling, there's the inspection, the masking, and the risk analysis. So in this particular chapter, what we'll talk about is the inspection, and we'll learn about a type called INFOTYPE. So there are 2 types of INFOTYPes. There is the built-in and the stored. So in this particular chapter specifically, we'll talk about the built-in INFOTYPE, which we will be using to inspect a particular cloud storage file. So let's proceed and let's see how this is done. Okay, so let's talk about inspection. So inspection basically deals with checking whether your cloud storage or your BigQuery data has any sensitive information. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll upload a file that has some sensitive information, and after that we'll use our data protection to check whether that particular file has some sensitive information. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go to our cloud storage, and I've created a bucket, and within this bucket is a file called h.csv. So let's open this particular bucket and let's check this file. So let's open this, and if you open the CSV file, you can see that it contains a few sensitive data. So it contains the PAN number, the address, and the age. So we can actually classify all these 3 as sensitive data, and you can do that by configuring an info type for all those 3. So let's see how we can do it. So let's go back to our console, and within this console, where you need to go is you need to go to your security. So let's go to our security. And underneath security, you need to open your data loss prevention. So let's open this. And here you can just click on this inspection tab. So let's click on this inspection tab. Now the others I'll talk about in the upcoming chapters. So this is basically the most simplest thing that you can do in your data loss prevention. So let's click on this and let's create a job. So let's click on create job. And here you need to give a job ID. So let's just call this as my job. And it need not be a global because we know where our file exists. So let's just keep this as US Central 1. And let's mention the location. So in this particular chapter, we'll just talk about cloud storage. Of course, we can also use BigQuery or Google Cloud Data Store. So for this particular chapter, let's just stick to cloud storage. And you need to give the location of your particular file. So let's click on a single file and let's give a path for our cloud storage. So let's again just get that particular path. And this is the particular path. So let's just copy this and let's just paste it here. And here you can also give a sampling. So the sampling method is, let's just start it from a random start, or you have the option of starting it from the top as well. So this would suffice, and the maximum bytes to scan per file. So let's just keep this as the default of 25. And let's click on all the file types supported. So these are all the file types that are supported. So what we have is currently a CSV file. So it's basically h.csv. So make sure that it's one of these. If you upload something as like an Excel file that is XLS, then it doesn't work. So it has to be a CSV or one of these formats. So let's click on OK, click on continue. And now you need to mention the type of info type. So basically an info type represents a sensitive information. So currently as default, these are all the info types that are checked. That is the credit card number, the email address, GCP credentials, etc., etc. Now you can actually click on manage info types and change it according to your needs. So let's click on manage info types. And here what you need to check is basically the age, because we know that our file contains age. And the other thing that you can check is basically the Indian PAN number, because we've seen that it also contains the Indian PAN number. So you can just click on Indian PAN individual. So it will just check for this as well. And let's click on done. So what we'll do is we'll just check for both age as well as the PAN number. So hopefully once this particular job runs, it should have detected that particular file contains age as well as the PAN number. So let's click on, now you can also set something called as a confidence threshold. So let's just keep this as unspecified. Let's click on continue. And here you have the option of adding action after your job is done. So you can save it to a BigQuery, you can publish it to PubSub, or you can even notify by email ID. So let's click on notify by email ID. And it will go to the project owner and the editor of the job's success or failure. So let's click on continue. So now this is actually something that is not needed, but let's keep this as switched on. And here you need to specify when you want to schedule this particular job. So let's run the job immediately upon creation. Just click on continue. Of course, you have the option of specifying a specific time as well. So let's click on continue. And this is how your JSON will look like. So it's going to check for all these, but we know that we don't need to check for the credit card number and the email address, etc., because it's not present. So we know that it contains the age as well as the PAN number. Now, basically, most of the times you wouldn't know actually what are the contents of your file. So basically what you can do is you can actually add as many types of info types as possible. So let's click on create and let's wait for this job to trigger. Click on confirm create. Okay, so our job is done. So let's check if we've received any email. So if I go back to my email ID, you can see that I've received a mail like this. The next thing that we'll do is we'll just check the findings of this particular job. So if you go back to your job details, you can find that there were 12 instances where the age and the PAN number was found. That's because there were 12 entries within that particular Excel sheet. So you can see that there were 12 entries. That's why it could find, or it could detect 12 entries for age as well as 12 entries for PAN. So that is how you can use your data loss prevention to check or inspect a particular file. So I hope this was a useful lecture. So this is a continuation. So in the upcoming chapters, we'll talk about custom info types. So I'll see you in the next chapter.